and welcome to this video. My name is Ellie. I'm a long distance hiker and backpacker, and this year I thru-hiked the end-to-end trail all across the UK with my rescue dog Otto. We were out hiking for almost 4 months and covered over 1,600 miles. In this video I want to show you what a typical day for me looks like while thru-hiking with my dog. I really enjoy watching those videos myself from other hikers to learn about their routine and to get inspired. But there are not a lot of thru-hikers, at least on YouTube, that hike with their dogs for several months, which definitely has its own challenges. So I thought I would make one from our perspective and show you what a day looks like for us. Of course, not every day is like I'm showing you in this video, but most days are very similar. So let's jump right in. Our day while thru-hiking usually starts pretty early. I normally wake up without an alarm when it gets light outside, around 6 AM, a bit earlier in the summer months. Once I'm fully awake and decide to start my day, I get up and go to the toilet first. I'm making sure to follow the leave no trace principles, which includes using my shovel and packing out my toilet paper. Next, I'm getting ready for the day, which means brushing my teeth, washing my face, and doing my hair. I'm also getting changed and put on my hiking clothes. Otto is not a fan of getting up early and he always stays in the tent sleeping while I'm doing all that. I really need my coffee in the morning, so I'm boiling some water to have my first cup. Normally I'm not a breakfast person, but when out hiking I make sure to eat something to have enough energy. For food I'm either doing porridge or something that I picked up the day before, like a pastry. When I'm done with my breakfast, I put out Otto's breakfast. On our hikes, Otto's food is kibble most of the time, just because it's easy to carry and relatively lightweight. He doesn't drink a lot on his own, so I make sure to soak his food in some water so that he's well hydrated before we set off. While Otto is enjoying his breakfast, I start packing up our stuff and put everything into my dry bags. Once all my stuff is packed up, I start taking down the tent, which is probably my least favorite activity of the day. Our morning routine from the moment I wake up to the moment we start hiking usually takes an hour or so, and I'm trying to get going at around 7 to half 7 most days. Once we're both finished, I put his harness on him, I put sunscreen on me, pack up our rubbish and have a quick look around our camp spot to make sure that we don't leave any litter behind. Once we're ready to go, I start my fitness watch to record our mileage and elevation. Then we start hiking. I always keep an eye out for a bin to throw away our rubbish from the night before and the morning. And I also make sure to fill up our water as soon as possible too, either from a stream or from a tap, whatever I come across. Especially when I didn't camp near a water source the night before and I'm running out of water. And then we hike. And hike. And hike. Because I'm filming our adventures, this also involves a lot of walking back to get the camera. I really love hiking in the morning, so that's when we usually put in some good miles. On average, we hike between 13 and 15 miles a day, which is a good mileage for us that Otto can easily keep up for days on end. One thing that I think is very important when hiking with the dog is that you're basically hiking your dog's hike. Otto didn't choose to do a thru-hike, and while I know that he's enjoying himself, it's my responsibility to make sure he's comfortable. I'm not planning too much ahead. Of course, I have always somewhere in mind where I roughly want to end up that day, but I'm always staying flexible because you just can't plan everything on a thru-hike, especially when hiking with a dog. If it's a really sunny day, it's a lot harder for Otto with his black coat, or if the terrain is really rocky and uneven, or if there's a lot of elevation. So I'm aiming for something around 14 miles, but I'm always prepared to adjust the distance if necessary. After our first 2 hours of hiking, or when I come across a spot with a view that I love, It's time for our first break. Otto is having some snacks and water, and I'm having some snacks too, usually energy bars, dried fruit or nuts, and some sweets like wine gums or cookies. During the breaks I take throughout the day, I take off my shoes and socks as often as possible to dry them out and to air my feet. This helped me a lot to prevent hot spots or blisters. If it's raining, we try to walk until we find something dry to shelter for a bit and have our break there. If we come through a town or a village during the morning, I usually get at least a coffee and oftentimes a breakfast or a snack too, and we have our break there. After the morning break, we continue hiking for another 2 to 3 hours until lunchtime. By that time, we usually have done more than half the distance for the day already, and we're taking a longer break. And again, just like with the morning break, if I come across a cafe, I'm getting lunch from there, usually with another coffee. My go-to food for lunch as a vegan is chips. They're cheap and you can get them everywhere, so I often go for these. And Otto always gets some too, of course. Whenever I'm in a cafe for any break during the day, I'm always looking for sockets to charge my power bank and smartphone while I'm sitting there and having my break. The time usually isn't enough to fully charge everything, but I can at least top off my electronics. If I'm not in the town, I'm preparing myself a lunch. Most of the time I'm having a wrap or a sandwich with veggies or greens and some protein like hummus, vegan cheese or vegan sausage. I actually eat a lot of hummus while on the trail just because it's easy to find, it has a good amount of protein and is okay for a day or two after it's been out of the fridge. In most areas I've been hiking in this year, I came across a shop at least every 3 days, so I didn't have to carry a lot of food around and could pick up fresh food regularly. I'm also having my electrolytes with my lunch and make sure to drink a good amount of water to stay hydrated. Otto always gets some snacks too, or is having some of my food like banana, dried fruit and a piece of my sandwich. Our lunch break usually lasts for at least an hour. If it's very warm, we take our break in the shade and hide out from the heat a lot longer, usually until the afternoon, until it's not that hot anymore. I always make sure that Otto is having a really good rest and sleeps a little bit, which is why I'm trying to find a spot where there's not too much going on and choosing areas where not too many people or dogs are walking by, so that he can really sleep for at least 45 minutes. I also use my lunch break, if it's not raining of course, to dry out my tent and other stuff that's oftentimes still damp from condensation or rain during the night. After our lunch break, we walk for another 2 to 3 hours. And again, a lot of walking back to the camera. Then our routine is quite different depending on whether I'm aiming for a campsite that day or whether I'm wild camping. If I'm going to a campsite, we usually walk there without any other bigger breaks, so that we can finish the day usually between 4 and 5 p.m. I'm doing that so that I have enough time on the campsite to take a shower, to buy supplies, charge my electronics, use the Wi-Fi to upload videos, or to do laundry. If I'm wild camping, on the other hand, we take our time after the lunch break because we don't have to get to our spot as early as possible. In most areas I've been hiking in, wild camping is not legal, so I always want to make sure to pitch late to be as discreet as possible. Since we're not in a rush, we usually take another snack break in the afternoon. In areas where I'm allowed to wild camp, I pitch my tent earlier at around 5 p.m. and then I make myself a tea and have some cookies for a little afternoon snack. I always like finishing the day early because it's a lot easier for Otto to rest and settle down if the tent is already up. If I can't pitch early, I start looking for a possible spot to camp at around 6. Sometimes it takes quite some time to find something, which is why I'm making sure to start looking well before Otto is tired, so that I don't overdo it for him. I like camping near a water source if possible, but sometimes that's not an option, so I make sure to fill up my water before getting to camp, either on a tap of a cafe or another water source. Usually I don't take more than 2 to 3 liters with me. That's enough for the both of us, for cleaning my pot and brushing my teeth, and will last me until I find the next water source after breakfast the next day. We're usually done hiking between 6:30 and 7 p.m. If the area is still busy or our spot is not hidden away, I just sit around for a bit before putting up the tent. If I'm walking along the coast, I love to swim for a bit in the evening to wash off the sweat and to pass the time. I usually set up the tent at around 6:30, but that of course depends on the area and when the sun sets. If the days are really long or the area is still busy, I set up later. When pitching the tent, I set it up facing west, if possible, so that I can watch the sunset. Then I get my stuff out. I brush Otto's coat to remove dirt and to check him for ticks. And I also check his paws every night to make sure they're not getting sore. After that, he's always getting a biscuit. That's just our little routine so that he knows that we're done hiking for the day. If I just resupplied and have a couple of treats for him, I'm letting him choose the treat he wants to have, and he just loves that. While he's having his chewing bone, I set up my sleeping pad and get my stuff out. If Otto still has a lot of energy, I get out his squeaky toy and play with him for a little bit, or I hide some treats for him to sniff and find. Then he gets in the tent for a rest and I start with my evening routine. First, I'm doing my stretching exercises to prevent muscle pain and plantar fasciitis. I'm stretching my calves with a cork ball and I'm rolling my feet over a golf ball. I'm also stretching my feet for a couple of minutes. For my personal hygiene, I always carry baby wipes or these tablets that become wet wipes when you add water. I use these to wash myself when I can't take a shower. Then I change into my sleeping clothes and I take out my journal. I take some notes on the day, including the miles and elevation, so that I can keep record of our progress. I also check my maps for the section I'm hiking the next day. If it's still early and if I still have some energy, I do a little bit of editing. I then start to make dinner. I usually have something where I only need to add boiling water, like dehydrated backpacking meal, pot noodles or couscous. If I still have veggies, I put these in, and I'm also adding seeds for more protein. If I walked through a town that day, I oftentimes bring fresh veggies and something different like rice or a can of beans and an avocado for my dinner. While I'm waiting for my food to rehydrate or cook, I also prepare Otto's dinner. He's having kibble, again soaked in some water, and I also add some supplements like omega-3 oil and something for his joints. I then take my supplements, also some omega-3 oil, as well as some minerals, and I have my dinner. I love watching the sunset, listening to music, or just think about the day while I'm eating. Sometimes I finish my dinner with a tea and a cookie or another little treat before cleaning my pot. Before getting to bed, Otto and I oftentimes share a little packet of crisps. He loves them more than anything, which is so cute. At around 8:30, I brush my teeth and get into my quilt. Otto also gets his blanket put on and curls up on his sleeping pad. Usually I spend some time on my phone reading, watching a video or sending messages before getting to sleep at around 9 p.m. to have a good night's rest before getting up and doing it all over again the next day. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and that you could maybe take something away from it for your own hiking routine. And now I'm really interested to know if there's something that's essential in your hiking routine. So let me know in the comments. I'm really interested to read about it and to learn from your experience. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, but you get notified whenever I post new videos about our next backpacking adventures. Thank you so much for watching. Happy hiking and see you next time. Bye!